There are people in this world who carry something truly beautiful, something rare, and something authentic inside them. Yet they spend their entire lives hiding it. It isn't because their talent isn't good enough. It's because they're held back by the weight of small thinking. They convince themselves that their spark doesn't matter, or that if they shared it with the world, it wouldn't be appreciated, or worse, that they would be mocked. This is the tragedy of a small mindset. You become exactly what you believe you are. If you think small, your life and your talent remain confined to the shadows. You will never grow unless you choose to think bigger. Because the truth is, a person's world is only as large as their thoughts allow it to be. This is the story of one of those people. In a quiet, working-class town on the outskirts of Columbus, Ohio, there lived a poor man named Jake Mercer. He was 43 years old, and he had no idea that hidden inside him was a diamond, a gift so rare and so powerful that it could lift him out of poverty and into a life he had only ever dreamed about. But for 20 years, he never knew. He lived a life of small dimensions, a small house, an old car, and an ordinary existence. Every morning at 5:15, he'd pull on his worn-out work boots and endure a 30-minute drive to the warehouse. For 20 years, he had been loading boxes there until his back ached and his hands were raw from the grind. But at night, when his wife Evelyn finally fell asleep and the house drifted into a heavy silence, Jake's true self would emerge. He would slip into the back bedroom, close the door softly, and reach for his father's old acoustic guitar, its edges worn smooth by time. When Jake played, the warehouse, the boxes, and the relentless cycle of the same shifts and the same small paycheck would simply vanish. Yet no one ever heard him. For 20 years, he kept his gift buried deep within, silenced by the whisper in his own mind. You aren't good enough. If you play, they'll laugh. It's not worth it. In those quiet, stolen hours, Jake was free, but he was also a prisoner of his own small thinking. He had a gold mine of music in his heart, but because he refused to believe he could be anything more than a warehouse worker, the world never got to hear a single note. Until one evening in July. The summer heat that year was relentless. That evening, the back bedroom felt suffocating, so for the first time in 20 years, Jake carried his guitar outside and sat down on the back porch steps. He wasn't thinking about being heard, he just played. Next door, his neighbor George was walking slow circles around his backyard. George was 70 years old, a retired school teacher. A quiet man who had seen enough of life to recognize something real when he heard it. He was mid-step when the music reached him. He stopped, completely still. He stood there without moving, without thinking, just listening for a long, long time. When the music finally paused, George walked slowly to the fence. Jake looked up, startled. George looked at him with soft, wide eyes and said, "Jake, I had no idea. I have lived next door to you for 11 years, and I never knew. That melody, it took me somewhere. It brought back memories I haven't thought about in decades. You play like that, and you never told anyone?" Jake felt his face go warm. "It's just something I do for myself," he said quietly. George shook his head slowly. "Son," he said, "a gift like that doesn't belong to just one person. The way you play, that is the kind of thing that could take you to heights you haven't even allowed yourself to imagine. And here you are, hiding it in a back bedroom. Why?"
Jake had no answer. That night he could not sleep. George's words stayed with him in the dark. He thought about the 20 years, the warehouse, the back bedroom, the door always closed, and for the first time he asked himself a question he had never allowed before. What if I am wrong about myself? The next morning, Jake made a small decision. He recorded 3 minutes of himself playing on his phone and posted it online. Then he put his phone down and went to work. That evening, there was one comment. It said, "I don't know how I found this, but today you brought back old memories I thought were gone forever. There was so much peace in this. Please keep going. I'll be waiting for your next one." Jake read it 4 times. Fear still came the next day, but it was smaller now. Weeks passed. He kept posting. One video reached 1,000 people overnight. Then a local coffee shop owner called. "I heard your music online," she said. "Would you play here one evening?" Jake went once. By the end of the night, she asked him to come every Friday. People would stop eating when he played. Strangers would leave cash on the edge of the small stage, not because they were asked, but because they wanted to give something back to what they had just felt. Word spread the way real things spread, quietly but unstoppably. People began inviting Jake to private events, birthday celebrations, wedding receptions, corporate dinners. Each booking paid more than the last. His name began moving through the city. Within a year, Jake left the warehouse. He now had a small team, a manager who handled his bookings, a driver for the longer events. His schedule was full months in advance. Invitations came from other cities, then from other states. The man who once loaded boxes for a paycheck that barely covered the rent was now being flown to perform at events where a single night earned him more than he used to make in 3 months. And then came the night that changed everything. A national music festival. Thousands of people seated under an open sky. Jake stood on the stage, his father's old guitar in his hands, the same worn edges, the same replaced tuning pegs, and he began to play. In the front row, Evelyn sat with her hands folded in her lap. When the first notes filled the air, her eyes filled with tears. She pressed her mouth to her hand. This was the man she had fallen asleep next to for 20 years, never knowing what he carried inside him. Now the whole world knew. My friend, Jake's story is not just his. It is the story of every person who has ever carried something rare inside them and convinced themselves it was ordinary. The talent was always there. The only thing that changed was one decision: to think bigger. If stories like this speak to something in you, subscribe to this channel, because this is where we tell the stories of people who pulled themselves out of the shadows and into the life they were always meant to live. Your diamond is already there. The only question is, how long will you keep it hidden?